Crescent Beach Jane Doe, identified as Mary Pultz. Today's Jane Doe was found in April of 1985 on a Crescent Beach in St. Johns County, Florida. It was here that workers were digging post holes for a beach stairway and accidentally found the remains of a person. She had been buried in a shallow area of the beach, and she'd been there for at least a few years. They believed her to be white and between the ages of 30 and 50. While her COD wasn't released, they would say it's foul play. They were able to learn nothing, though, of who she was, and the case would just go colder and colder over the years. In 2011 and 2012, they would take another crack at it. The University of South Florida would develop a composite of what the Jane Doe would have possibly looked like, as well as doing the traditional DNA that they use for CODIS. That's a one-on-one comparison with others that are in the database. But there was unfortunately no hits. That is until June of 2022, when the St. Johns County Sheriff's Office attended a cold case class and the use of genetic genealogy. In 2023, Othram would become involved, and they would develop DNA that was used for genetic genealogy, which, of course, in the end, would lead to the name of Mary Alice Pultz. Through a match to the DNA from her younger sister and her son, the two had never lost hope finally knowing what happened to Mary. Mary Alice's son, Norman, lives in Arizona, and her sister, Patricia, lives in Virginia. Mary Alice had gone missing around 1968. It appears she had left town with her boyfriend, a man named Billy Joe Fugit, who possibly the family didn't approve of. She was 35 to 40 at the time when this happened, and unfortunately this led to the estrangement of her from her family. No one knows for sure just how long she was alive and with Fugit, who went by the alias of Billy Joe. They found holes in her skull in a re-examination of her remains, which they believe indicate that she'd had an accident shortly after she left her family. The holes were put there to relieve pressure on her brain. There were also multiple fractures of the nasal bone. She had multiple rib fractures that had healed, as well as fractures in her lower legs. The totality of the injuries they believed had led to hospitalization. She also was suffering from severe abscesses in her upper gums that would have caused constant pain. It didn't lead to any more evidence as to what happened to her. The medical examiner would say this investigation is a powerful example that we will never give up. The combination of highly skilled detectives and advanced DNA technology has given Mary Alice's family some answers about her disappearance. Mary Alice's sister is 72, and she would tell the investigators that she thought she would die without ever knowing what became of her sister. It shows how important these identifications are. Mary Alice Pultz went unidentified for 39 years, and she was a missing person for 56. She was found roughly 500 miles or 805 kilometers from where she went missing. LA Jane Doe, June 10, 1988, Los Angeles, California. We don't have a lot of information available on this case, but we do know that our Jane Doe was found around June 10, 1988, on the 1600 block of East 40th Place in Los Angeles, California. One strange element in this case is that she was holding a yellow metal brooch in her right hand when she passed on the sidewalk. She was most likely white or Hispanic, and they would determine she was probably aged 19 to 30. If this is true, it would mean she was likely born around 1958 to 1969. So her peers would be around their mid-50s to mid-60s today. As for the why of it, it's not been publicly released, and some sites list possible foul play and also a possible accident. I personally think this is from a lack of information. This case is old. The COD itself I'll just describe as blunt force T. She was 5'2" and around 104 pounds, or 158 centimeters and 47 kilograms. She had a gold metallic crown on her upper side tooth, and she was wearing a brown button-up blouse that was missing a button. This was held shut using a safety pin. She had on blue pants. She was wearing a metal digital quartz watch, which was notable because it was a larger men's watch, and she also had a white metal ring with a large clear stone. The Los Angeles Jane Doe, 1988, has gone unidentified for 36 years. The San Jose Jane Doe, 1985, San Jose, California. Some kids were playing in San Jose on October 27, 1985. And it was then that they made the unfortunate discovery of a woman lying in the brush next to Coyote Creek. She was around 18 to 29. Although there's not a lot on this story, I got a lot of my information from the article involving the recreation, yet the recreation online appears to be a copy of a copy type of situation. What I found really interesting is they read into her clothing. She had backless sandals with cork soles and plastic material, Levi 501 jeans, a white bra in size small, and a white tank top. And the tank top had a mesh pattern over the lower portion of the neck. The artist said he made her thin because she was likely a transient and living on the streets. We don't have photos of her clothing to rely on or anything like that. He did the recreation from a skull. However, they did somehow come up with a suggestion she was 135 pounds and 5'2" or 61 kilograms and 158 centimeters. Unfortunately, lots missing, and I feel like sometimes I have to say something if there's any way that might help make something clear, or at least make somebody think about something that they were originally dismissing. For instance, the ugly mesh clothing was a big thing in 1985, and I only remember this because a teacher made fun of me for wearing it. I had a mesh cover basically on over a shirt, and he asked if he could use my shirt to fish with. It was mortifying. And I mention this because I know that was about the same year. Nothing she was wearing sounds out of line with what I would have worn to school that year, right down to my button-fly Levi's and shoes of questionable quality. I'm younger than she likely was, but I feel like I should say it might have just been a statement rather than her circumstances at the time. I wasn't homeless, and I was wearing the same stuff. I'm just saying it's possible she was not homeless. Whether or not she was dressed as a high school student obviously was subjective. If she was indeed 18 to 29, her loved ones are missing a woman born between 1956 and 1967. The San Jose Jane Doe has gone unidentified for 38 years. Huge thanks for watching all the way to the end, and a big thanks to all of you who consistently like and comment on the videos. Whether you leave a full comment or an emoji, it makes a huge difference. So if you consistently watch my videos, maybe take a moment to subscribe. It's a huge push toward the videos being suggested to new people. The next goal is 20,000. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care of yourselves and each other.